Hey, what's up YouTube? It's me, Whiskey Hotel, and you're looking at some Call of Duty gameplay. To be perfectly honest, I don't know what you're looking at because I'm not recording over game footage, but I'm sure it'll be entertaining enough as a backdrop as I talk about my ideas about love. Now, this is like the love month with Valentine's Day and all that stuff, so I just wanted to share my opinions on it and specifically my experiences with it, or experience I should say. A little bit of a cliffhanger, ooh. So I don't particularly believe, oh, and I should also mention that this is probably going to be a two-part video because I have a feeling that I'm going to ramble for a long time. But anyway, I don't particularly believe in the fairy tale version of love that a lot of people do. A lot of people buy into the soulmate, like happily ever after thing where there's like one person for every other person and they're just the perfect match and blah 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 blah. Barf. I don't buy into that because, to be honest, it doesn't make sense. Like, how many times have you seen people in a relationship, they claim to be like head over heels in love, blah blah blah, something happens, they break up, within a year both of the people have moved on to other relationships. Now, if it was in fact true that they were soulmates in their prior relationship, how could they move on so fast? And you know, maybe, I guess the skeptics or the believers in that notion would say that they moved on to their soulmate, but I mean, that doesn't really happen. I mean, people change over time, and they may be your quote-unquote soulmate in that moment, but 5 years down the road, you may be totally different people. So I don't necessarily buy into that version of love. The version of love that I believe in and I practice is that love is just something, a word to describe like a perfect chemistry with somebody. Like, you don't need to be soulmates, you just need to be compatible. And by that I mean the two people in the relationship bring good things to the relationship, and then the two people together make the two people involved even better. So the two people involved are good, but together they are better.
This is a precise description of a fuzzy mechanism.
And that is my belief, because it's just not realistic to believe in the fairy tale version. I think you just need to find someone that fits you and you enjoy being around, and you make each other a better person, and you can work on shit with each other, and you don't go after each other. And honestly, my experiences with love are pretty sparse. Like, I wouldn't say that I grew up in a loving family. Like, it's not something I'm super familiar with. I don't just throw that word around. And it's because of that that I'm pretty much numb to that emotion, or at least I thought until recently. I've been in really long-term relationships where I know for a fact, like 100%, that the girl I was dating was in love with me, like a lot. And it feels good to be loved, but I can't say in those scenarios that I loved them back. And that's pretty fucked up, I know. And I guess I assumed that if I stayed in the relationship long enough, the love would eventually come based on circumstance. But I now realize that that's not necessarily the case. Like, if you talk to older married couples, they'll tell you, like, if you are dating someone for a couple months and you don't think you're in love with them, then you probably aren't, because they'll tell you that you know when you are. And that sounds like a bunch of foo-foo bullshit, but I think I can almost vouch for that now, because I may have had a run-in with love, or at least the closest thing that I know to be love, a few months ago. I was dating this girl named Katie, and Katie was perfect. Like, she was, first of all, very beautiful, interesting, unique, highly intelligent, philosophically inclined, like all these things, like just check, check, check down the list, like all these things matched up with me perfectly. And we started dating last August, and everything was good, but the one problem with this relationship is that there was always an end date.
It's a great song.
Totally.
I have cancer.
It was always understood that she was going to move back to Florida, I'm in Montana, at the end of November. And so that always kind of cast this dark cloud over it. And we agreed in the beginning, like, because we could both learn from each other, we both thought that we were good for each other, that we were just going to ride it out for that couple months, and then she would go to Florida, and we'd go our separate ways, and no harm done.
I guess you could say I just want to have a meaningful relationship with someone special.
And that sounds like a great plan, like, because personally, like I said, up until then, I hadn't really given a shit about love. I was totally ignorant to all that, and I thought, sweet, I can date this girl for a couple months, and then she'll disappear. Because that had been my experience in relationships. I'll date a girl for a couple months, I get fucking bored with it, I'm over it, and then I just wanted to go away. So I thought this was like the perfect thing. Little did I know that she was like my ideal girl. And so we dated for those couple months. Everything was good. I mean, we had, like, it wasn't like perfect. I mean, we both had things we were working on, and that was part of the reason we were together, is because we were helping each other with something. She is a very anxious, neurotic person, and she had some bad relationship history that I don't want to divulge, but I was more than willing to help her out with that, because I don't get anxious, I don't get stressed, and so merely me being around her was enough to get her through these anxiety attacks a lot. And I didn't mind doing that. I was glad to help. And then on my end, the constant complaint was that I'm not very good at expressing myself in relationships. I don't offer a lot of reassurance. I'm not very vocal about my feelings, and she was trying to work with me on that. Like, it did bother her, but I think she knew I was trying, so it wasn't like a real problem, like, because I was doing my best, and I feel like I was offering her that reassurance in other ways, like not necessarily vocally. And we used to joke, like, because she's kind of interested in like alternative medicine, not really medicine, just alternative ideals, like, and so she brought up the idea of chakras, and apparently there's a throat chakra that governs like how you express yourself. So we used to always joke that my throat chakra was all fucked up or broken, and blah blah blah.